Hello, hello, welcome. If you are new here, my name is Lori Conkler. It's great to meet you. If you are returning, welcome back. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about personal growth, expansion, authenticity, all of the things, and how those play into truly creating a life that you're absolutely in love with, and also how they keep you from that. And so, when I first started out in this business several years ago, my main mission in life was to create a life that I absolutely love, to be able to travel the world, to live and work from anywhere. So that was my biggest mission. And I think that, with many people, that's really the goal that we have. But I believe that one of the main reasons that people don't actually have that is because of these constraints that we live within that on one hand, we see from the outside our limitation. We see the 3D constructs around us, what's happening, where we feel like we're stuck, like we can't change our situations, change things, or where we feel like we have to do a lot of things in order to make the money, to set up our business, to truly build that life. But the thing that I found is that a lot of times the reasons that people don't actually have that is because we set those limitations for ourselves. And part of that is because we have spent our life living according to what we have been conditioned for, what we believe we needed to be in order to be recognized, in order to be seen, in order to be loved, in order to be rewarded. And while in many ways we may feel like, that's me, that's my authentic self, when you actually break it down and you ask yourself, if it were up to me and I didn't care what anyone thought, if I didn't feel any sense of guilt or obligation, would I do things the same? Would I respond the same? Would I answer the same? Would I show up the same? I was having a conversation with someone earlier, and this is just not related to business at all. And we were talking about, how she had, we were talking about relationships and how, you know, some relationships had kind of fallen off or we'd grown apart, but others where, we felt like we could connect and just, pick up where we left off after years. And on one hand, that can be really great. But on the other hand, sometimes again, like coming back to, is there a sense of guilt, obligation, or is that you actually really wanting something for yourself? And so this situation, it was, around this person that she hadn't spoken to in a while, and they had then like reconnected. And it's like, oh yeah, it was so nice seeing you, blah, blah, blah. We should catch up sometime soon. And then it's been 2 months and the other person hasn't reached out. And she's like, but I haven't either. And I guess I could. And, I don't have to wait for her and blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, well, why don't you? And I'm curious though, is that because, like, do you actually want to go spend time with her? Or are you reaching out of a sense of obligation? She said, probably the second one, obligation. Said, so if you had your choice, and this was actually someone she was related to, but I said, if you weren't related to this person, if you didn't feel a sense of obligation or guilt, is this someone you would want in your life right now? And she said, no, it's not. They have very differing beliefs and ideas. And, there's this obligation of, well, we're related and I should want to have this relationship and I should do that. And, I shared some of my own personal stories as well, but I see this happening so much. And I have also seen it happen in my own life. But where we live under this guise of like, you have to do things. You have to show up. You have to, keep these relationships going, and, not always just family. Like I've had friend relationships that I've kept going because like, well, we've been friends for so long. And even though we have nothing in common, it's like we keep trying to maintain this relationship, which feels, more strange sometimes. Not even strange. It's like, again, we can connect and it feels fun in the moment, but it feels like work to sometimes keep the relationship going and the friendship going. And I've had other friendships where we actually consciously unfriended each other because we realized it felt like work. And I think, sometimes people need to be in your life for a reason. Sometimes they don't, and sometimes it's there to show you something about yourself. And in this, specific conversation, if this person, they weren't a client, but I would say, if you were a client of mine, this is the conversation that we would be having. And I was like, why? Why don't you actually do the thing? Like, why don't you say the things? Like, why don't you distance yourself? Why do you feel the need to go back there? And again, it's this obligation, it's this guilt, it's the conditioning of we have to do this thing and we need to go to this funeral of this relative because, well, so and so, we should do it. It's just the obligation. And what would people think if I didn't? And like, well, first of all, that person's dead. You haven't talked to them in however many years. You don't have a relationship with them. Like, why would you go out of obligation? And so many people are living their lives out of obligation, out of conditioning of what they think they should do. Um, and that comes to light in business. It also comes even just in your day to day life. Like, what are you doing in your life that you don't actually want to do? What have you committed to? What committees are you on? What things are you doing within your family? What duties are you carrying out that you don't even care about, but have just become habit that you show up and you do, or that people expect from you, but really you have no desire to? And I know some of that is a little vague because that can vary from person to person. But coming back to, authenticity about being yourself, about saying what you really want and saying no to the things that you don't. When you want to have a life that you love, when you want to thrive in all areas of your life, your work, your business, money, you have to actually come back to yourself and say, like, is this what I actually want, or am I doing this because someone says I should, because I feel obligated to, because it's what's expected of me? And as we move forward into the future, like, in the past, maybe you would say, well, I'm in business, I'm successful enough, I'm making money, I should be happy, or this relationship is good, this person's nice, this is good enough. But is good enough the way you want to be in your life is, you know oh, well, this is okay, or, well, I guess I could do this because this is a nice person and I can maintain this relationship, or I'll work with this client because, well, I know I can help them, even though you really don't want to be working with them, even though they might be a nice person. Where are you not actually staying true to yourself? And so when I talk about authenticity, sometimes it's from this lens of where are you not actually being in integrity with what you want and what you say you want, because you say you want a life you love, but in all of these areas of your life, if you're doing things that are out of alignment with living a life that you love, you're not being authentic and true to yourself. And therefore, you're never going to create the life that you truly want, because a life that you truly want doesn't come when you're hiding, when you're living behind a mask, when you're living according to other people's rules. And, the first time I really realized this for myself was back in 2016 when my husband and I decided to move to the Caribbean, to quit our jobs, to do something completely like out of the blue, because I realized that although I had the life that technically I should be happy with, I had the corner office, I was making more money than I ever thought, I had more vacation time than I ever had, and all these things that I thought would make me happy. But then when I got there, it was just like, on paper, it looks good, it looks okay, I'm doing the things that I'm supposed to do, but I'm not happy because I wasn't being true to me. And being true to me sometimes means taking the leap, taking a chance on myself, doing some things that aren't logical, that don't always make sense, because that's what will lead you down the path of where you actually need to be and go to be the true version of you. So I just wanted to come on here today and share this message, because this conversation, A, was just something that really struck me because this is someone that I respect, that I look up to, and that many people, would look up to. But I think oftentimes very successful people, high achieving people, are some of the least authentic people because part of how they thought that they've built that success, they've built this life is because of how they built it, and how other people see them. But does it matter if you have a good life on paper, but you're not actually really fully living the life that you want, if you're not actually happy within yourself? And that's one of the biggest questions that I think many people need to ask themselves when you're kind of sitting at that point in your life of, I want to be fulfilled, I want to be successful, but I also want to be happy, because you very well might be very successful in many ways, but does that success look the way you want it to? And that's the question I leave you with. And I would say, if this conversation has resonated with you, I would love to, first of all, invite you to, share whatever landed with you here in the comments, like and subscribe, of course, but to also join me inside my Unfiltered Collective community where, we have a lot of these conversations. And as we really ramp up into 2026, I intend to be having more of these conversations with you, hearing your feedback, allowing you to actually start to express yourself and form those true relationships, and with people that truly get you and that understand from that perspective of living your life for what you thought you want, what looks good on paper, what you think you need to do, and who are transitioning out of that phase of their life. So, anyway, if that sounds aligned, join me inside. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.